Hello, this is Glenn here from Recovery Devon. I brought you back to the woods, and last time we were here everywhere was green, and I perhaps rather cryptically asked you if you could see the blue. And what I was thinking about, what I was focusing on, was how everything changes, everything unfolds. And I was asking you to imagine a time when the bluebells will be out and you could see the blue. Well, here we are a couple of weeks later, and you don't have to imagine them because they're all around us. And we're here to enjoy the bluebells. But I've also found myself wondering if we can take this a little further and enjoy the blue. The 5 ways to well-being include noticing, learning, connecting, and it can be enough, more than enough, to simply notice things and savour them. But if we're curious and looking to learn, we may find learning about things can deepen our sense of connection with them. If we're open to wondering, we may be able to see that the world is full of wonders. And I find myself there's a particular satisfaction in finding what is wonderful in the familiar and the ordinary. Now, I would understand it fully if you would prefer just to have a quiet stroll through the woods. And if so, feel free to turn the sound down. But if you're interested to look into what we are seeing, I'd like to share a few thoughts with you about what I've been learning about colour as we walk on. So, here we are on a path in a small English wood very near to where I live, on another lovely sunny spring morning. A bluebell wood in springtime is a wonder, but that's not really what I brought you here to see. I brought you here to look and to think about blue itself. Have you ever wondered what is blue? It's a simple question, and we can start with a simple answer. Clearly it's a colour. But the question gets rapidly more interesting and complicated if we ask ourselves, what is a colour? Now, colours are often associated with meanings, and these can vary with culture and change over time. Blue is often taken to be the colour of the sea and the sky, with associations of openness and peace. Hence its use by the United Nations, whose peacekeepers are called blue helmets. The Virgin Mary is traditionally given blue clothing in medieval pictures to signal her divinity, but also that she was uniquely worth the extraordinary cost of extracting deep blue from ground-up lapis lazuli from mines beyond the sea, ultramarine. For the Buddhist, blue is the colour of wisdom. But blue also has associations with melancholy and grief and loss, the blues. And our blue light services use it to signal urgency. So we tend to think of colour as a quality something has, and things are often named as such. Sky blue, duck egg blue, and here in this lovely wood, bluebells. But it might surprise you to realise that really everything is colourless. When we look at a blue flower, we're not really seeing the colour of the flower at all, but the quality of light reflected off the surface, received by our eyes and processed by our brains. This blueness, this experience of blue, has travelled a long, long way. It began its journey millions of miles away in the star we call the sun, whose heat and light travelled out and filtered through miles of atmospheric gases and particles, somewhat less at present, and comes down to us as sunshine. At ground level, these rays, this great mixture of radiation, interact with everything they meet. And different things appear different colours, because they absorb some wavelengths of the visual spectrum of light, and others pass through or bounce off, and are then available to enter our eyes and be focused on the nerve cells that lie in their rear surfaces, which are like tiny colour-sensitive solar panels, translating the profile of incoming light into a pattern of electrical impulses. And these travel to our brains, which finally whisper into our consciousness, blue. So what we perceive as blue begins as starlight. And different eyes see the world very differently. All creatures sensitive to light look upon the same world, but each sees something different according to their capabilities. So birds who can see polarized light see the sky as having shape and structure. Bees who see ultraviolet notice patterns on what for us are plain white flowers. And quite why the mantis shrimp has 16 different colour receptors compared to our 3 is an observation awaiting an explanation. But dogs have just 2, and so they see the world in blues and yellows and greys, and see us very differently to how we see them, but thankfully still have little difficulty recognising us. But it might be as much through odour as sight. So what we call blue is a perception. It's a perception related to reception of a particular waveband of light through healthy human eyes. In a way, the colour we see something as is precisely the colour it isn't. We see a bluebell as blue because the pigments in the flower absorb everything but blue, which is then available for us to see. Or putting it another way, if you took the blue wavelengths out of light before it shone on blue pigment, for example, if you took a bluebell into a photographic darkroom and viewed it under red light, it would appear black. And we tend to think we cannot see colours in the dark because they're not lit up, not illuminated. But really, it's the other way around. We cannot see colours in the dark because colours are what we call that fraction of the light reflected back to us, and in the dark they are simply absent. If you're an artist, you might think you're painting with colours, but really the pigments you are painting with are highly selective starlight filters. Which is why if you add too many together, all that comes back to you is a blackish brown. Rembrandt's well known for his dark and murky backgrounds, and the combination of pigments that have been found in his paints is so complex, it's been suggested that he achieved this simply by scraping together all the residues left on his palette. And there's one more mystery about blue light that has nothing to do with colour. For we all have another receptor in our eyes that's particularly sensitive to this portion of the light. It's naturally present in the highest concentrations in the early mornings and has a powerful effect on our circadian rhythms, our body clocks, even in the non-sighted, which is also why the bluish light from our screens can upset our sleep patterns. So, if you've had your sound on, what is the point of all this? This is a question my wife is very fond of. What is the point of all this? Well, it can be a lovely thing just to get out and see the woods and to wander around with a dog. But if what we see depends on how we look, it can be rewarding to take time to look at things more carefully and be delighted with the details, and to look into things with curiosity so as to see beyond the familiar and learn more about what we are seeing. Then, on a good day, the ordinary world may show itself to be extraordinary. Fascinating. Lovely. And there's a debate, and for some, a tension, between the value of direct experience and of analysis, whether science reduces the beauty of nature or enhances it. The poet John Keats, who loved to wander woods just like this, protested that Newton's experiments to separate the wavelengths of light with prisms was a bit like unweaving the rainbow. But there is a counter-argument that says such learning and understanding can promote a deeper appreciation that enables us to gain a sense of wonder at what we see. So as we come to the end of this short stroll in a bluebell wood, surrounded by these lovely blue flowers, I wonder what you've made of this, and if these things look any different to you now. So, that's all from me today. And we wish you well from Recovery Devon, and please, would ask you to take care, stay safe, bye for now.